So I was hoping to have this translation I've been working on done today, but even though I worked on it a lot today, it just keeps dragging on and on, so it's so close, but I wasn't able to quite finish it. So I have another reading from Ajahn Chah, and then tomorrow we'll be able to hear from this senior disciple of Ajahn Chah named Ajahn Kun, Agadamo. Cool. If all goes well, he'll be visiting here on June 18th to July 5th. And but in the meantime, I'll read from Bodhinyana, another talk by Ajahn Chah. And so, this is one of my favorite collections, Bodhinyana, and this talk is called Just Do It. There's a note saying, a lively talk in Lao dialect given to the assembly of newly ordained monks at Wat Pah Pong on the day of entering the Rains Retreat, July 1978. And it's possible this one's been, we've listened to at least parts of this one already in the collected works, but I think it's still worth going over. Just keep breathing in and out like this. Don't be interested in anything else. It doesn't matter even if someone is standing on their head with their ass in the air. Don't pay it any attention. Just stay with the in-breath and the out-breath. Concentrate your awareness on the breath. Just keep doing it. Don't take up anything else. There's no need to think about gaining things. Don't take up anything at all. Simply know the in-breath and the out-breath. The in-breath and the out-breath. Boot on the in-breath, toe on the out-breath. Just stay with the breath in this way until you are aware of the in-breath and aware of the out-breath. Aware of the in-breath, aware of the out-breath. Be aware in this way until the mind is peaceful, without irritation, without agitation, merely the breath going out and coming in. Let your mind remain in this state. You don't need a goal yet. It's this state that is the first stage of practice. If the mind is at ease, if it's at peace, then it will naturally be aware. As you keep doing it, the breath diminishes, becomes softer. The body becomes pliable. The mind becomes pliable. It's a natural process. Sitting is comfortable. You're not dull. You don't nod. You're not sleepy. The mind has a natural fluency about whatever it does. It is still. It is at peace. And then when you leave the samadhi, you say to yourself, wow, what was that? You recall the peace that you've just experienced, and you never forget it. The thing which follows along with us is called sati, the power of recollection, and sampajanya, self-awareness. Whatever we say or do, wherever we go, on alms round or whatever, in eating the meal, washing our alms bowl, then be aware of what it's all about. Be constantly mindful. Follow the mind. When you're practicing walking meditation, have a walking path, say from one tree to another, about 50 feet in length. Walking chankama is the same as sitting meditation. Focus your awareness. Now I am going to put forth effort. With strong recollection and self-awareness, I am going to pacify my mind. The object of concentration depends on the person. Find what suits you. Some people spread metta to all sentient beings and then leading with their right foot, walk at a normal pace, using the mantra Buddho in conjunction with the walking. Continually being aware of that object. If the mind becomes agitated, then stop, calm the mind, and then resume walking. Constantly self-aware. Aware at the beginning of the path, aware at every stage of the path. The beginning, the middle, and the end. Make this knowing continuous. This is a method focusing on walking meditation. Walking chankama means walking to and fro. It's not easy. Some people see us walking up and down and think we're crazy. They don't realize that walking chankama gives rise to great wisdom. Walk to and fro. If you're tired, then stand and still your mind. Focus on making the breathing comfortable. When it is reasonably comfortable, then switch the attention to walking again. The postures change by themselves. Standing, walking, sitting, lying down, they change. We can't just sit all the time, stand all the time, or lie down all the time. We have to spend our time with these different postures, make all 4 postures beneficial. This is the action. We just keep doing it. It's not easy. To make it easy to visualize, take this glass and set it down here for 2 minutes. When the 2 minutes are up, then move it over there for 2 minutes. Then move it over here for 2 minutes. Keep doing that. Do it again and again until you start to suffer, until you doubt, until wisdom arises. What am I thinking about? Lifting a glass backward and forward like a madman. The mind will think in its habitual way according to the phenomenon. It doesn't matter what anyone says. Just keep lifting that glass. Every 2 minutes, okay. Don't daydream, not 5 minutes. As soon as 2 minutes are up, then move it over here. Focus on that. This is the matter of action. Looking at the in-breaths and out-breaths is the same. Sit with your right foot resting on your left leg. Sit straight. Watch the inhalation to its full extent until it completely disappears in the abdomen. When the inhalation is complete, then allow the breath out until the lungs are empty. Don't force it. It doesn't matter how long or short or soft the breath is. Just let it be just right for you. Sit and watch the inhalation and the exhalation. Make yourself comfortable with that. Don't allow your mind to get lost. If it gets lost, then stop. Look to see where it's got to, why it is not following the breath. Go after it and bring it back. Get it to stay with the breath, and, without doubt, one day you will see the reward. Just keep doing it. Do it as if you won't gain anything, as if nothing will happen, as if you don't know who's doing it, but keep doing it anyway. Like rice in the barn. You take it out and sow it in the fields, as if you were throwing it away. Sow it throughout the fields, without being interested in it, and yet it sprouts. Rice plants grow up. You transplant it, and you've got sweet green rice. That's what it's about. This is the same. Just sit there. Sometimes you might think, why am I watching the breath so intently? Even if I didn't watch it, it would still keep going in and out. Well, you'll always find something to think about. That's a view. It's an expression of the mind. Forget it. Keep trying over and over again, and make the mind peaceful. Once the mind is at peace, the breath will diminish, the body will become relaxed, the mind will become subtle. They will be in a state of balance until it will seem as if there's no breath, but nothing happens to you. When you reach this point, don't panic. Don't get up and run out because you think you've stopped breathing. It just means that your mind is at peace. You don't have to do anything. Just sit there and look at whatever is present. Sometimes you may wonder, hey, am I breathing? This is the same mistake. It's the thinking mind. Whatever happens, allow things to take their natural course, no matter what feeling arises. Know it, look at it, but don't be deluded by it. Keep doing it. Keep doing it. Do it often. After the meal, air your robe on a line and get straight out onto the walking meditation path. Keep thinking, Buddho, Buddho. Think it all the time that you're walking. Concentrate on the word Buddho as you walk. Wear the path down. Wear it down until it's a trench and it's halfway up your calves, or up to your knees. Just keep walking. It's not just strolling along in a perfunctory way, thinking about this and that for a length of the path, and then going up into your hut and looking at your sleeping mat. How inviting. Then laying down and snoring away like a pig. If you do that, you won't get anything from the practice at all. Keep doing it until you're fed up, and then see how far that laziness goes. Keep looking until you come to the end of laziness. Whatever it is you experience, you have to go all the way through it before you can overcome it. It's not as if you can just repeat the word peace to yourself, and then as soon as you sit, you expect peace will arise, like at the click of a switch, and when it doesn't, then you give up, lazy. That's the case. If that's the case, you'll never be peaceful. It's easy to talk about and hard to do. It's like monks who are thinking of disrobing, saying, rice farming doesn't seem so difficult to me. I'd be better off as a rice farmer. They start farming without knowing about cows or buffaloes, harrows or plows, nothing at all. They find out that when you talk about farming, it sounds easy, but when you actually try it, you get to know exactly what the difficulties are. Everyone would like to search for peace in that way. Actually, peace does lie right here, but you don't know it yet. You can follow after it. You can talk about it as much as you like, but you won't know what it is. So, do it. Follow it until you know in pace with the breath, concentrating on the breath using the mantra Buddho. Just that much. Don't let the mind wander off anywhere else. At this time, have this knowing. Do this. Study just this much. Just keep doing it in this way. If you start thinking that nothing is happening, just carry on anyway. Just carry on regardless, and you will get to know the breath. So, give it a try. If you sit in this way and the mind gets the hang of it, the mind will reach an optimum, just right state. When the mind is peaceful, the self-awareness arises naturally. Then if you want to sit right through the night, you feel nothing, because the mind is enjoying itself. When you get this far, when you're good at it, then you might find you want to give Dhamma talks to your friends until the cows come home. That's how it goes sometimes. It's like the time when poor Sang was still a postulant. One night he'd been walking Chankamai, and then he began to sit. His mind became lucid and sharp. He wanted to expound the Dhamma. He couldn't stop. I heard the sound of someone teaching over in that bamboo grove, really belting it out. I thought, is that someone giving a Dhamma talk? Or is it the sound of someone complaining about something? It didn't stop, so I got my flashlight and went over to have a look. I was right. There in the bamboo grove, sitting cross-legged in the light of a lantern, was poor Sang, talking so fast I couldn't keep up. So I called out to him, "Poor Sang, have you gone crazy?" He said, "I don't know what it is. I just want to talk the Dhamma. I sit down and I've got to talk. I walk and I've got to talk. I've just got to expound the Dhamma all the time. I don't know where it's going to end." I thought to myself, when people practice the Dhamma, there's no limit to the things that can happen. So keep doing it. Don't stop. Don't follow your moods. Go against the grain. Practice when you feel lazy and practice when you feel diligent. Practice when you're sitting and practice when you're walking. When you lay down, focus on your breathing and tell yourself, "I will not indulge in the pleasure of laying down." Teach your heart in this way. Get up as soon as you awaken and carry on putting forth effort. Eating, tell yourself, "I eat this food, not with craving, but as medicine, to sustain my body for a day and a night, only in order that I may continue my practice." When you lay down, then teach your mind. When you eat, then teach your mind. Maintain that attitude constantly. If you're going to stand up, then be aware of that. If you're going to lie down, then be aware of that. Whatever you do, be aware. When you lie down, lie on your right side and focus on the breath, using the mantra Buddho until you fall asleep. Then when you wake up, it's as if Buddho has been there all the time. It's not been interrupted. For peace to arise, there needs to be mindfulness there all the time. Don't go looking at other people. Don't be interested in other people's affairs. Just be interested in your own affairs. When you do sitting meditation, sit straight. Don't lean your head too far back or too far forward. Keep a balanced, just right posture like a Buddha image. Then your mind will be bright and clear. Endure for as long as you can before changing your posture. If it hurts, let it hurt. Don't be in a hurry to change your position. Don't think to yourself, "Oh, it's too much. Take a rest." Patiently endure until the pain has reached a peak, then endure some more. Endure until you can't keep up the mantra Buddho. Then take it to the point where it hurts as your object. Take the point where it hurts as your object. Oh, pain, real pain. You can make the pain your meditation object rather than Buddho. Focus on it continuously. Keep sitting. When the pain has reached its limit, see what happens. The Buddha said that pain arises by itself and disappears by itself. Let it die. Don't give up. Sometimes you may break out in a sweat, big beads as large as corn kernels rolling down your chest. But when you've passed through painful feeling once, then you will know all about it. Keep doing it. Don't push yourself too much. Just keep steadily practicing. Be aware while you're eating. You chew and swallow. Where does the food go to? Know what foods agree with you and what foods disagree. Try gauging the amount of food. As you eat, keep looking, and when you think that after another 5 mouthfuls you'll be full, then stop and drink some water, and you will have eaten just the right amount. Try it. See whether or not you can do it. But that's not the way we usually do it. When we feel full, we take another 5 mouthfuls. That's what the mind tells us. It doesn't know how to teach itself. The Buddha told us to keep watching as we eat. Stop 5 mouthfuls before you're full and drink some water, and it will be just right. If you sit or walk afterwards, then you don't feel heavy. Your meditation will improve. But we don't want to do it. We're full up and we take another 5 mouthfuls. That's the way that craving and defilement is. It goes a different way from the teachings of the Buddha. Someone who lacks a genuine wish to train their minds will be unable to do it. Keep watching your mind. Be vigilant with sleep. Your success will depend on being aware of the skillful means. Sometimes the time you go to sleep may vary. Some nights you may have an early night, and at other times a late night. But try practicing like this. Whatever time you go to sleep, just sleep at one stretch. As soon as you wake up, then get up immediately. Don't go back to sleep. Whether you sleep a lot or a little, just sleep at one stretch. Make a resolution that as soon as you wake up, even if you haven't had enough sleep, you will get up, wash your face, and then start to walk chankama or sit meditation. Know how to train yourself in this way. It's not something you can know through listening to someone else. You will know through training yourself, through practice, through doing it, and so I tell you to practice. This practice of the heart is difficult. When you are doing sitting meditation, then let your mind have only one object. Let it stay with the in-breath and the out-breath, and your mind will gradually become calm. If your mind is in turmoil, then it will have many objects. For instance, as soon as you sit, do you think of your home? Some people think of eating Chinese noodles. When you're first ordained, you feel hungry, don't you? You want to eat and drink. You think about all kinds of food. Your mind is going crazy. If that's what's going to happen, then let it. But as soon as you overcome it, then it will disappear. Do it. Have you ever walked chankama? What was it like as you walked? Did your mind wander? If it did, then stop and let it come back. If it wanders off a lot, then don't breathe. Hold your breath until your lungs are about to burst. It will come back by itself. No matter how bad it is, if it's racing around all over the place, then hold your breath. As your lungs are about to burst, your mind will return. You must energize the mind. Training the mind isn't like training animals. The mind is truly hard to train. Don't be easily discouraged. If you hold your breath, you will be unable to think of anything, and the mind will run back to you of its own accord. It's like the water in this bottle. When we tip it out slowly, then the water drips out. Drip, drip, drip. But when we tip the bottle up farther, the water runs out in a continuous stream, not in separate drops as before. Our mindfulness is similar. If we accelerate our efforts, practice in an even, continuous way, the mindfulness will be uninterrupted like a stream of water. No matter whether we are standing, walking, sitting, or lying down, that knowledge is uninterrupted, flowing like a stream of water. Our practice of the heart is like this. After a moment, it's thinking of this and thinking of that. It is agitated, and mindfulness is not continuous. But whatever it thinks about, never mind. Just keep putting forth effort. It will be like the drops of water that become more frequent until they join up and become a stream. Then our knowledge will be encompassing. Standing, sitting, walking, or lying down, whatever you are doing, this knowing will look after you. Start right now. Give it a try, but don't hurry. If you just sit there watching to see what will happen, then you'll be wasting your time. So be careful. If you try too hard, then you won't be successful. But if you don't try at all, then you won't be successful either. So I think, sometimes we can hear that and think we should do something very extreme, but then Luang Chah is always putting in the emphasis that but don't try too hard. You try, put forth effort, but don't do it too much. It has to be the balanced effort. So just appreciate the energy of that talk. But to really do it, I think this is something Luang Por Pasano has always emphasized as well, is that just sitting there, just sitting there and waiting for something to happen doesn't bring any results at all to the practice. We do have to be cultivating that Buddho, or the meditation object. It's not that the sitting in and of itself is practice, but it's the way we're holding the mind, the meditation object, and actually having to put forth that mental effort. So I think that's really good to be reminded of that. That wasn't quite half an hour, so plenty of time if anybody has any questions or anything.
Yes. Let's see. So reading some of Ajahn Chah's stuff earlier in the retreat, he talks about looking at things and noting sort of just this much. And he seems to use it kind of in a similar way to maybe the way that Ajahn Nyaniko would say, it's like this. And so I was just curious, I don't speak any Thai or Lao, so I was just curious if maybe you could talk a little bit about what exactly the phrasing is in Thai or Lao, and maybe why he picked that phrasing in particular along those lines. Thanks.
Yeah, it's like this. That's there's a couple different phrases in Thai, but I think his emphasis is a little bit different than with Luang Por Sumedho. Luang Por Sumedho is saying it's like this, but then just that much shows that everything has its limit. So whether it's pleasure or pain, it's never ultimate. There's no such thing as ultimate pleasure or ultimate pain. It always passes. So it's no matter how much pleasure or pain we have, whatever our feelings that we have, they always have their limit. They're always just that much. Kanan is one that they use in Thai, like it's just that much, or it's only that, but also like something is like sak dawa, it's just that. Sak dawa kwam rusuk, like it's just a feeling. So it's only that. That's all it is. So that's kind of the emphasis that Luang Por Chah has. It's like we grab onto things and make a big deal out of them, or say it's a problem, or it's super great and we have to follow after it. But it's those types of phrasings are pointing to that it's actually not worth clinging to, not worth attaching to. It's not something that is worth holding to. It's only what it is. It's just that much. You know. Like, I just found the best food for me. That's, and if I eat this, then everything's going to be okay. But then it's just that much. It's just something that's just going to pass and not satisfy again. So it's kind of similar. It's kind of similar to it's like this. I mean, it's definitely the ultimate meaning is the same, but I would say the emphasis is slightly different.
Thank you, Ajahn. I really appreciated the point about the balanced effort, and it makes me think of how Ajahn Jayasaro speaks of holding a bird, and I reflect on that sometimes. And so if there's any ways you would expound on, like practically speaking, cultivating that balanced effort in ways of doing that, not one side or the other. Thank you.
Yeah, I think for us, we need to constantly be reminded to do the actual reflections or do the actual teachings that's being recommended, like doing Buddho, like actually holding that in the mind, or holding those perceptions of impermanence, holding the meal reflections as we're eating the meal, contemplating the meal, where it's actually ending up, and so on. So actually, I think a lot of it is just the way we can find balance in the practice is we actually have to try these things out. So rather than sometimes there might be a tendency to just think of these things when we hear the teachings. We're considering them, thinking about them when we hear these readings of Ajahn Chah, or that we hear the teachings, but then we need to take that next step and actually take them on and be thinking about it all the time. It reminds me when the last time I was able to see Luang Por Ban, and there was all these lay people there at his branch monastery, and then he gave a teaching, and he said if you wanna realize Dhamma, you have to think a lot. And then people are kind of like, oh, what? And then I said, yeah, that's right. You have to think a lot. You have to think about Dhamma all the time. You have to be thinking about these reflections all the time. It's not just that you're shutting things out or turning things off. So, and I mean, this is someone who he has super samadhi, can do anything in the meditation, but he's saying you have to do the reflections, do these, consider these things, and actually throughout the day be considering these things all the time. So I think to even find out what the Buddha is talking about, or what the Ajahns are talking about with balance, we do have to apply these teachings all the time, and every moment of our day be seeing, oh, there's impermanence in action again, or oh, there's something that's not worth clinging to, or oh, there's me holding on to something again, and constantly. That's the Dhamma Vichaya because the ultimate balance is going to be the letting go. The ultimate balance is going to be through wisdom. So it's not just through kind of like moving the pieces here and there and getting some sort of balance on a teeter-totter, but it's more about the ultimate balance of the clarity of understanding that comes through reflecting on the teachings constantly, plus the meditation practice and all the things we do throughout the day. I like when he talks about pain. Now I like all these teachings. Oh, pain, real pain. I wouldn't recommend that anybody push themselves to the pain of like nerve pain, though. I wouldn't recommend that. Maybe just, you don't want to injure yourself. You don't want to push through till sharp pain. But I think what he's talking about is you'll feel a strong dull pain if you sit for a long time, but you're not necessarily injuring yourself. And then the restlessness also seems to add to the pain. When you're actually peaceful, there's not much pain in your knees or your legs. If you're able to do those meditation postures, I think we tend to not give so much credit to just how much pain in our body is due to the mind that's not peaceful. Because probably all of us have had that experience at times when we have a knee pain or a back pain or something, and then the mind calms down a bit, and then the pain disappears. And I've even had this with knee pain where I thought, well, that has nothing to do with the mind. But then when the mind calmed down a bit, the knee pain disappeared, and I was actually looking, well, where did it go? What? That's strange. Where did the knee pain go? And it just disappeared all of a sudden. Maybe that was the subtle tension that we can't always consciously calm the pains in the body. There's subtle tensions in the body that arise due to the mind not being peaceful. So then when the mind starts to become more peaceful, then those more subtle tensions can relax a bit, and then we can really be relaxed, really be peaceful. But we can't really do it by just telling ourselves, just relax, okay, that part needs to relax, that part needs to relax. We can't just do that. Then the mind actually has to calm down.
I'm curious about, it seems like whenever the mind is not on something, on like the meditation object or something wholesome, it goes to defilement in pretty rapidly, and it's pretty terrible. And I'm curious about it seems important to see the terribleness to disenchant, but I'm curious about sometimes it seems like more defilement gets added on when I see the terribleness of it. So I'm curious if you have any recommendations for holding that and seeing it and disenchanting.
Yeah, it's good to not be too hard on oneself. So, seeing it as terrible, these are just natural phenomena that arise in the mind. So it's normal that these things happen, but then sometimes by labeling it as terrible, we can actually give it more power than it actually has. So these natural phenomena arise in the mind, maybe some sort of greed or desires or some sort of frustration or anger, and that those things arise. And then one is just to see the suffering of it in the moment, to try to see that it's a state that's burning the mind, but then to try to see it with the attitude not of trying to get rid of it, but to learn from it. So these are just all these phenomena are natural phenomena, natural energies that occur. And then we can also, if we're using something like Bhutto or the breath, we can keep trying to shift the focus back to that. But if we can't, sometimes we just have to endure it. Sometimes, Ajahn Chah talks about this a lot, that he had times when he couldn't control his mind and having to see it as not self. You can also contemplate not self, that the things that arise in the mind just arise due to causes and conditions, and that, we're not, the wholesome part of what we're doing is we're not acting on those unwholesome tendencies. We're not acting on the unwholesome mind. So sometimes it just has to run its course. It really just depends on the person. And we try to keep it a little bit in the background. But sometimes, I think for myself, seeing it as really horrible or terrible tends to not be that helpful in terms of weakening it. I found actually that not labeling it, but just seeing, it's just that much. It just is what it is. Oh, look at that mental state. That's it. But maybe really, really strong, but it has a limit. It's just that much. It's just something which, it might be very compelling or seem very powerful, but it's actually just that much. Where did it come from? It came from, sometimes it just seems like it came from nowhere, and that's where it'll go as well. Something that can be helpful is to try to, if we have, say, like defilements or something coming up, and we think they're really, really powerful, to try to remember what defilements came up last week. And chances are we won't even be able to remember them. So that shows how powerful they really are. They don't stay with us. Whereas, like Ajahn Chah is talking about in the talk, when you feel peaceful, when your mind becomes peaceful, then you don't forget it. You don't forget about it. And one of the qualities of the jhanas is it can't be forgotten. So it stays with one when the mind becomes really peaceful. It's heard various ajahns talk like that you can't actually forget about it. But the defilements that come and go, they're easily forgotten because they're just churning away all the time. But we might remember some really core moments, like, that one time I got extremely angry and regretted it, and I said something to this person, I really regretted it. So sometimes we might, if we act on them, we'll end up remembering it and regretting it. But if we don't act on it, chances are we're just going to move on to the next thing. We're not going to really remember it. And also that encouragement that it's hard. It takes a long time to learn this, and that mind has to be trained over and over and over and over again. But eventually, it does start to become more automatic if we're thinking about the Dhamma a lot, and if we're really, we're getting all those reminders, we're in a community, and so on.